Hello guys and welcome back to Strategic Command World War II, World at War, with our first ever PvP against SirTravis. We've gotten the turn back. He told me to enjoy my turn, so I wonder if he accomplished something he's happy about. We've seen an American sub making its way through the Pacific. Definitely have to keep an eye out for that, because we have a lot of ships just around. The carriers are what spotted that. Destroyer just scouting around here. We really do have to be careful about those subs. Doing a lot of reinforcing over in Egypt, expectedly. I have a good feeling that this front's not going anywhere. Did he just put that on a transport? Did he just put the unit defending Sevastopol on a transport because he saw it was gonna die? I think he did. Alright, we got 2 damage to his fighters, 1 damage to mine. And he bombed my fighter. What? No, okay, he's bombing a Slovakian corps. He dealt more damage to his plane. He's attacking the Slovakian corps. Dealt 2 damage, took 1. Dealt 1 damage, took 1. And this is with armies he's using. Dealt 1 damage. I kind of expected him to be ballsy over here with that. He just wants to deal damage. He knew that he wouldn't have actually done anything there. He just wanted to deal damage. He's taking damage with a battleship to harm a town for 1 turn. He's trying to bomb the front line of Finns. Escorts and interceptors flying. 1 damage to my fighters. 4 damage to his fighters. 2 damage to his bombers. 1 damage to my corps. 2 more damage to his bombers. He's going on the offensive with his armies. Defensive arty is firing. 1 damage to his army. 2 damage to our corps. 2 more damage to his army. He swapped them out. Oh, he's got an extra army here, I see. 1 damage to an army with defensive arty. 3 damage to our corps. 3 damage to his army. 2 damage to our corps. And it ran away. So he's getting real offensive. He's trying to push here. He actually dealt a lot of damage. But he took a lot of damage. In terms of overall MPP spent, he's really working on a deficit there. But I think that's why he told me to enjoy my turn. He's happy that he did a lot of damage. Helsinki damage from bombardment. Alright, he's moving Ireland and Portugal still. We got raiding on basically every front. Anti-air spotted in Moscow. Garrison Bombay. Special forces in Calcutta. Alright. That was pretty eventful. Yeah, he was kind of on the offensive. Given the large armored formations both sides can deploy on the Eastern Front, there have been calls for the formation of dedicated anti-tank units. It will be useful when encountering enemy armored formations, but will be fragile when fighting enemy infantry. We could at low cost quickly form 3 dedicated anti-tank units at Warsaw for 200 MPPs at 50 a turn for 4 turns. They will deploy at half strength and will need upgrading. Would you like to form these dedicated anti-tank units? Researching and upgrading these anti-tanks would ensure they can inflict maximum damage. It's cheaper to form these units by saying yes than to purchase them via the purchase screen. Yeah, it is. I remember this one being worth it. We'll say yes to this. They could at least be good as defensive units for holding locations. So 3 quick and easy compared to if we purchased anti-tank units, which we can't purchase anymore anyway. It's 200 a pop, 180 with our discounts, but we pay 200 for 3. Reinforcement is 45 each. So that's another 140-ish, 135, something like that, to get them all up to strength. So yeah, it is cheaper to do this. I'll take that. I'll take 3 anti-tank units. They're not going to be insanely useful to me, but I'll still take them. He went on that big offensive, but in every single instance, I wouldn't say that it was worth the amount of effort it took him. He spent a lot of MPPs off of armies, for example, to do the damage he wanted to do, and he's honestly, for example, right here, set me up to kill this army of his, so I'm gonna go for that. We might do some bombing first, so let's be smart about this. There's a lot of things we have to look at. We do have tactical bombers here that can be used on such an offensive. We do have new long-range aircraft here that we can worry about. We do have fighter escorts in the rear that can fly, so I will reinforce these injured fighters over here on the front. Right here on this side is the only side that really makes any sense to go for. Either way, we're going to take damage if we try to do any bombing over here, whereas on the north side, I'm not necessarily sure we would actually take any damage, so Whether this is even worth the air support, I'm not really sure. If damage is guaranteed, I'd rather it come out of infantry than a bomber, especially in an area where I'm not even trying to push. So you know what? Fuck it. Let's go ahead and just attack with the army anyway, dealing the 4 damage we expected and taking no damage. We'll then attack across this river, dealing the 1 damage as expected and taking no damage. And then I can reinforce the Slovakian Corps all the way up to full. They're not entrenched, but they're back up to 10 strength. And I've wiped out an army. So what has he really done here? Like, I don't even know how much I had to pay for that right there. But it's a core, right? We can extrapolate like this. 40 MBPs for 4 from this. And this doesn't even have a discount because it's finished. So he had me spend like 50, 60 MPPs tops. Maybe probably not even that much. And I wiped out an army. He took so much damage, he cannot push another offensive here again this turn. He doesn't really have that capability. And same thing up here, he doesn't really have the capability to push an offensive. So I'm going to move the Suomi Corps up to the front. It doesn't matter for entrenchment because there is no entrenchment here because we're on a lake. This lake does not have any entrenchment, nor does it have defensive bonuses, so defending it is not even necessarily the most amazing thing in the world. We're going to reinforce the first fighters. We did tons of damage to his air. We can move the Helsinki Corps. We can move them right about down here. I'm not entirely sure where I want to move this, just because of this being here. I don't think he can really take the paratroopers and end up over there very easily. So there is a chance, it's not impossible, there is a chance that this thing would be incapable of living. And so I am a little concerned about that. This unit's not out of the woods, but I'm going to prioritize the front over its safety. We'll send the Helsinki Corps down south, and we'll send the 2nd Corps up to Kuopio, where hopefully it will get a good chance to reinforce next turn, but this turn's not happening. There's enough stuff in the way that I don't think the paratroopers will really get into attack, so we should be able to reinforce. And again, he does not have the capability to push this attack. He doesn't even have any entrenchment on the front. We do have our 2 shells, so if I wanted to go on the offensive, it's definitely possible, but I wouldn't say it's worth it. Rather, just let him spend all his MPPs reinforcing. I want to say the damage from his mistakes, but I really do think, based on how he handed the turn off to me, that he thinks this was worth it. But he'll have to reinforce one way or another, despite the strategic success or lack thereof. We do want to keep up with research as possible, so we're going to go ahead and research some more long-range aircraft for Germany. They have quite a big air focus, so this is pretty relevant to them. I still have no idea how this submarine's getting out of here. Especially because we know he has some sort of destroyer patrol going up and down this strait. I went with nice and simple. The 2 subs that were moving up, I sent just up here. And then the one that was right here, I sent right over here. For now, we'll figure out what to do with it. We might probe to see if we can get through up this way. I don't know if he's maintaining something. Take that old route we used to take. Or maybe even go over here and fuck with the Soviets that he's constantly sailing around with. That might be an option. But we need to see how we're getting through over here. We do have 1 tactical bomber that is actually injured right now. And that's right, yeah, so he just completely moved off of Sevastopol. This would mean that it probably went down here, because there's nowhere else for him to go. There's nowhere else. Also, how's he doing on turning? So, Portugal's at 45%. Ireland's at 47%. Well, if he's going for Portugal, it might be smart to just seize Portuguese Timor if we get prompted with that option. I forget how you get that option. Oh no, I looked it up. We're not going to get that option. The only way you get that option is if DEI surrenders to you. Because DEI has not surrendered to me, it joined me, then we don't get this. That's probably what's affected a lot of this. Why certain things didn't fall is because I had the DEI join me. Well, I definitely got some good benefits out of the DEI joining me, but it is also going to, I suppose, limit me in some other ways. Regardless, he is very heavily entrenched over here still, so it's going to be a pain in the ass to push through, but we are set up to push through. There's nothing at Vyshny Volochysk or Kalinin. I swear to God, he just had units up here recently, but there's nothing over there anymore. The first thing to go for is going to be the 11th Army, which is entrenched out here in the woods. We'll start with I think my better bomber, because I don't know, my bombers are in a weird situation. I know I would love to reinforce this one, so I'm going to get that one reinforced. And we're going to try a tactical bombing here with our better bombers. We've reduced his readiness, morale, and entrenchment, and our odds have improved vastly. However, we are still limited in some ways. This is the only other bomber that can actually bomb here, and then these two down here are too far away to even bomb this mechanized unit that's in the woods here. So that could prove to be a problem. I either need to accept the fact that I will take some losses, right? Or I could try to make things even better. And I think I'll just spread it out a little bit. So we'll use these bombers for bombing. I could give them elite reinforcements, but we're going to not do that. Instead, we're just going to go ahead and do a normal bombing, reducing the entrenchment of the mechanized unit here. We get a little bit better odds here, because again, these other two bombers are just too far away, honestly. The linebreaker tanks can finally reinforce fully, as can the Africa reconnaissance, now that we have an HQ literally pressed up against here, and he's moved away with enough of his units here that this front has kind of opened up for me. Looking at this, I still really do think that a westwards assault is going to be the best option we have here. So a westwards assault is essentially what we're going to push here. Not sure if I want to start with a core or a tank here. They're both set to take 1 damage up front. The tank does have 2 attacks. Regardless, a core will be easier to attack with. The tank should make the most of its prepared attacks, however. I think we'll start with this tank. It's maybe a little inefficient, but we'll start with the tank. We dealt the 3 damage we expected, and we took no damage at all. Okay, that really worked out for us. We'll try the second attack. We dealt 5 damage instead of the 4 that we expected, and we still took absolutely no damage, meaning a prepared attack from this core would be enough to finish off the 11th Army, theoretically. And there you go. The 11th Army is dead. Another Soviet unit is gone. I'm going to send the 13th Corps north to Vyshny Volochysk to secure that town and that portion of the rail line for us, which will allow me to move von Rundstedt forward onto Vyazma and thus project our supply better in this region. We're still just bouncing it from Smolensk, so von Manstein has a purpose down there. But the spread is going to be better. We'll take some losses, but we're going to start with an attack with the 10th Army. Prepared attack against the enemy mechanized. Dealing 3 damage, taking none. Wow. Oh my gosh, this is working out pretty well for us so far. I'm going to reinforce the 3rd Army. I want to stay as strong as is possible. And then we have some other attack opportunities here. Like I said, I'm going to favor this westwards approach. So the 4th Army is going to move up in their trucks to get a blitz attack, let's say, on the 3rd Soviet mechanized, dealing 2 damage and taking none. Could have been better. Not quite how it came out. This will be dangerous, but the 8th Army is going to move up into the woods here, where they can get a better... Wow, I didn't expect to have so many good damage opportunities here. Holy shit, he's got some unentrenched cores that just kind of recently arrived, plus some that are entrenched, but not really too well off. Okay, we have some bombing opportunities that I did not expect us to have. We do still need to deal with the rest of this mechanized. I'm thinking the tank, but I'm not sure where to move it. The core, this one right here, can also move up, but it won't be enough. I'm thinking of securing Kalinin with it. Our supply won't progress up there too well, but we can still secure this. I think I will. Take the 6th Corps and go and secure Kalinin with it. These are not worth any MPPs, these towns, but they do unlock more of a rail line that we don't really have access to too much of because it passes through Latvia. Regardless, it pushes our front up against the frontier here, which is more than sufficient. We do have the Africa anti-tank that no longer really needs to be here. It would ideally move up somewhere where it can get some reinforcements. So I'm going to move it up to Rizev, just as far as it can go up this way. Serve as a more forward defensive fixture. There's nothing right there that really needs the attention otherwise, whereas I could shift maybe these in. They do need to be ideally reinforced to start with, maybe certain upgrades as well. I think I'm going to take the riskier route. I've done some reinforcing that arguably didn't need to be done, but we got to remember who we're playing as. We need to push any advantage that we get. So we're going to take the riskier path and move these tanks up here. They could absolutely just one-shot this, in fact, something that I did not expect to happen. But I guess that's an option. And then we could move forward even further. I wasn't expecting such good odds, but we'll take them. Shattering the enemy mechanized in one fell swoop, taking no damage and earning some XP. And so, yeah, the other tanks won't be able to move up really fully right now. But this army in the rear, which I was tempted to get some elite reinforcements for, but we won't. We're just going to move that up fully down the line here, and we suddenly have the opportunity for a pretty good blitz attack, as things would have it. Wow! A lot of opportunities just showing themselves in ways that I did not expect. Sadly, none of my bombers can reach that high up, but I will take the blitz attack with the 14th Army. Only 2 damage dealt, sadly. No damage received. We'll try a second tank attack, a second blitz attack with the tanks. 3 damage dealt as promised / expected. And we've blown a hole leading to Moscow with all the damage that we've done. The Africa Corps tanks will just move up further onto the road for right now so that they are in a better space to actually move in that direction. Like I said, this westwards attack, I thought it would be a good idea, and honestly, I think it's proving to be a pretty good idea, but we can't let him rest. We do need some more damage, I would say. I don't think we really need to do anything more over here. These tanks are open to be moved, by the way. I don't really know what to do with them yet. I might send them east to just deal some damage in this region, though. Our supply really isn't too bad over here. But he has this core just out in a fucking field. He's just begging to be attacked by a fucking tank as well. Like, Jesus Christ, man. If it's gonna be in supply, then let's send the blue tanks over here. We have pretty good initial attacking odds as is. And so I don't know that we really need any air support to really make this productive. The goal is not to kill this unit, mind you. If we're killing units, it's gotta be around Moscow. So hence, we'll take this bomber, which has no range over here to begin with, and we'll start with a bombing on this enemy core right next to Moscow. No direct damage dealt, unfortunately, but its readiness has been lowered. We have some better odds with the next bomber, but this is where I have to pick. Do I want to go for this, or do I want to go up here? I think exposing Moscow as soon as possible is probably for the better. He's not going to surrender. He does have additional capitals, but to support the westwards push, you know, he may be trying to counterattack around here, but it's losing him stuff, and I'm quite content with the amount of troops we have in that region right now. So I think I'm going to focus by Moscow. We'll do another bombing, dealing 3 damage, not even just 2, following up with an attack from the 8th Army, a blitz attack, dealing 5 damage as expected, and chasing that unit away, blowing a hole, another hole next to Moscow that he'll definitely be trying to patch up. Checking down south for a little bit, the 1st Romanian Army is going to push forward up here where we could see the enemy Romanian Rebel Corps. I don't know how long I want to leave certain bombers down here, but while they are over here, they can support this region. Ideally, I want the medium bombers to move as soon as possible, but right now they are just in range to make this more, well, possible. We'll move the Hungarian HQ onto Rostov to better spread supply. A lot better, as it would seem. A heck of a lot better. Because ideally we want to do some damage here. I'm not sure. We need to, of course, secure Sevastopol, but I'm not sure how I want to accomplish that just yet. Salsk is something we need to keep an eye on. I'll move down 1 with the Hungarian army, and we can find that he's not even protecting the oil at my cup. Krasnodar here is also completely open, so that gives me a lot of opportunities. We will just cut past him with this army then, securing Krasnodar for ourselves. And then we do have the opportunity here to go on a pretty big bombing run that would make these bombers have to linger in this region for a bit longer. But I think, honestly, that could be worth it. I think that could be worth it for sure. Yeah, I do need to see what's over here, though, still, is something of some concern to me. We'll start with... oh, dear. We got an autosave. We'll start with the tactical bombers. We'll start with the tactical bombers and send them to bomb the Romanian Rebel Corps, he called them. We dealt some good damage, increasing our odds here quite splendidly. We're going to attack with the 1st Romanian army, dealing the 3 damage as expected and taking none. Sadly, you know, I'm not going to be able to attack and then also move to my cop, I think. But that oil is very... look at that. That's 30 MPP's worth of oil. Words cannot express how much I want to take that for myself. words cannot express. We don't have really any other amazing options on the other side without moving somebody else. We will do a blitz attack with the first Hungarian army, dealing that 4 damage, and we did get him to move. Oh, and look, we actually can just go ahead and take my cop. Okay, well, this works out splendidly. Second Romanian army will move forward, finishing off the Romanian rebel corps at the expense of finally getting a bad roll. Some damage has been received, and I can move. I guess we're going to claim this with the Romanian HQ in this case. They're going to claim Sevastopol, but that works out because look at this situation here. These other bombers haven't even done anything, meaning the tactical bomber really just may have been enough. We'll send the Romanian corps forward to secure Maikop, taking 30 MPPs a turn away from him and securing almost that amount in the long run for us. We actually have a push going into the Caucasus earlier than I would have expected. We need to make way for some of these planes. One thing I realized about the medium bombers and, the fighters is that they're going to have to stay on towns to some extent, because we don't have an HQ over here. Until we get an HQ over here, they actually need to stay on towns, which is maybe not as efficient for certain things, but I think we could free up Brest pretty easily. And then maybe either Nantes or St. Malo. It's very simple to take the Brest anti-air and simply move them back 1, for example. We could even move them over here, but there's already anti-air coverage over there, so that really shouldn't be necessary. So we'll just move the anti-air at Brest back. And then we could take the medium bomber that's definitely not doing anything. And I could either operationally move it, or I can try to just fly it across Europe, which would take several months. I'm going to operationally move it to get it into position early because I want to go after his ships if they're still in the region. So we're going to operate this all the way over to Brest. 57 MPPs to pull that off. And we do have another one here that can move now, or it could stick around to try to do some bombing against the French Volunteer Corps, as he's named it. I think having them linger around a little bit longer might actually be ideal. So what we're going to do is upgrade the fighters over here with long-range aircraft 2 to try to increase their capabilities, but we'll see what their capabilities really end up being. We'll just reinforce the 5th Corps for right now to get those up to snuff. We'll allow the KG medium bombers to do a medium bombing run. They were the only ones that could actually reach over here. No damage dealt on either side, but instead of 1 to 2, it's 0 to 4 now, so this is much better for us. We'll go ahead and attack at Salsk, dealing 4 damage, still unfortunately taking 1 that we did not expect to take, unfortunately. But this is much better odds for us. I'm gonna do something weird. We're gonna move the core here down 1, take a look at what's around. All right, it's clear. We're gonna go secure Mrazovsk, because it has some supply, enough to let this function and serve as a defensive fixture, right? And the reason for that is because then we can take the Hungarian corps over here and move it into more of an attack position. We're going to want to push up with a lot of other things as time goes on here. How are partisans in this region? We got to make sure we're not leaving anything without garrisons. It's not too bad at the moment. Nothing terrible. We're going to move the Hungarian down here, take a blitz attack against the enemy corps here, dealing 1 more damage and chasing him off the location, allowing me to move my army and claim Salsk for myself. It's not worth any MPPs, but it'll help spread supply and secure this region of the Caucasus. We do, as well, have the 2 Romanian cavalry that have been deployed. Now, operation can work if I want to get them into position in literally 1 turn flat. It would be 20 MPPs to do that. Otherwise, normal movement is going to take like 4 turns and the front's going to move before then. Force marching is going to take 2 turns. They're going to arrive maybe not too well off. Right here would be the best locations for the Romanian cavalry to arrive. And so I think that's what I'm going to do, because getting them into position sooner rather than later is important. So we're going to operate the Romanian cavalry forward. So this has worked out perfectly to allow for us to essentially flood in. Now, Sevastopol is pretty important, and it probably could use some defense. Unless he gets Turkey, I don't think I really have to worry about like a naval invasion. It doesn't really need anything, but I would definitely appreciate having a garrison at least that could sit on Sevastopol given its relative importance. A core might be better, but securing over here is more important. And this is a front too. He does own all of this, so these guys would eventually in their push have to go down there. I'm stretching the Germans even more thin just to actually pull this off, which is maybe a bit unfortunate. The straight shooter tactical bombers here don't need to sit here. This mine is not a good place to sit. For now, they'll just move to a town where we ensure they'll have supply so that they can operate to the west. Well, the straight shooter tactical bombers, they actually might want to go north, which might involve not operating in general, meaning sending them down here might have just been a mistake. Regardless, the medium bombers need to stay on this town to ensure that they can move westwards. With our actions, it's pretty simple to take the blue tanks and go on a blitz attack, dealing 2 damage, taking none, and then dealing 5 damage, taking none against this enemy core. Supply is a little stretched thin over here, as we can see. Doesn't spread quite the greatest. Surprisingly better if I go around south, funny enough. I don't want to get encircled around here, mind you. So we do still need to be careful, but it would be pretty safe, I think, to move this core forward alongside the tanks and go for an attack, dealing 3 damage instead of the 2 predicted, taking 1 damage we did not predict. And we see he actually isn't protecting Saratov directly. Well, damn, fuck it then. Let's go ahead and move up to Saratov. We do have an enemy contact. We took 2 damage. We dealt 2 damage against an army. So that was a risk, obviously, that happened there. We had already moved, so there wasn't any option to make that quite too easy. But I have secured Saratov, which does have MPP value. However, he may just try to come back and go on a full offensive at Saratov. So I might want to split my forces maybe a little bit better to make this look better. Like, I might want to send some reinforcements down in that direction to reinforce that as a front, which I didn't really expect to be something that opened, yet here we are. Our defenses over here are getting slimmer for sure, but if we move this core over here just to secure this, then we can definitely free up another core to come in this direction. We don't want to force march it ideally, but we can definitely move in this direction just to show that we have a bigger presence establishing. There's a chance if he sends a lot of stuff, he could kill this core. I wouldn't be too mad if he did, honestly. I'm sure he would celebrate and make it sound like he won the war in PMs with me if he pulled that off. But I think it's worth the effort. So I'm going to move Von Bach into Ryask, which is vastly going to improve supply in this region. Right now, Ryask is completely secured around, but this is going to change shortly. It will change. We do have another core here capable of moving. And I am tempted to go deploy this over here because the western front here, this is pushing fast enough that it will secure Moscow pretty much by itself. And we don't really need, like, we already have additional cores. We don't need this many additional cores. One of these can stay up here. I can move it north just to make sure it's, you know, available for certain things. I can also move it around here as a defensive fixture, just, you know, for this HQ. That seems maybe like a good idea. Let's move it over here as a defensive fixture. We have this other core over here that could force march down into this region as well to kind of join the securing of what's happening over here. It's risky, but I think I'll take this risk. March that all the way down here. So we have a tank, 2 more cores coming up to reinforce this. He might do the AI thing and just try to inflict a death, even if it sets him up to lose many more things. If that's how I suffer my first land loss, then I really wouldn't mind. I think it's worth it. I know he will think that it wasn't worth it for me and that he will have made progress. I could see it now, the PMs. We are out of time for this episode. There's a couple more things to do as Germany, and we have quite a lot more to do in terms of Japan and then Italy, but we do have a nice full episode, so I will end this here. So for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and we will continue this on the next one.